Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I have to tell you how much I really enjoyed this movie, first off.
Oh, that's
But when
amazing.
when you first read this script, what was your initial thought about it?
I was actually, when I read the script, I was resistant to doing another horror film.
Hmm.
I've done like a decent amount and I love the genre, but I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little tired of it. And then I read it and I was like, you know what? Never mind. I was like obsessed with it and I really adored the character. I felt like a pretty immediate connection to her. And me and my whole team agreed like we have to do whatever we can to be a part of this movie.
Well, I definitely think you are one of the people that makes this film because this Lee is such a complex character. And I feel like with all the characters, it's not just their character, it's almost as if they have another role to play within this exorcism that's taking place, whether it's she's exorcising her father and the death of her mother and all of those memories. So, how did you get into that idea of that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is more than the literal. It's about sort of like exercising this trauma that we carry. And a lot
Right.
of it is this generational trauma. All of her father's baggage has been placed on her shoulders. And he's this, patriarchal man in this patriarchal system that is like the film industry. And she's this young queer woman trying to navigate her way through it, and forge her own path while shedding everything that he's put on her. And I mean, a lot of the complicated relationships in the film, around family, around, addiction and drug abuse and things felt familiar to me. And I sort of just tried to stay true to the path of like forging your own way as like a young queer person, if that makes sense.
It does. It definitely does. And I feel like that's part of what makes her who she is. But uh, playing Lee, what affected you most about her in a sense? Was it the queer aspect? Was it this her watching her father just deteriorate or living with the grief of losing her mother? And there's so much. Like I said, she's so complicated.
There's a lot. The grief actually was a big part of it. I felt this grief for her mother and this betrayal with her father
Hmm.
because her mother passes, and during that time, as her mother's life is like deteriorating, her father's completely absent. And so I felt this deep betrayal from this man who is now back in my life trying to, reconcile that. But
Hmm.
I am still holding on to this grief that through the movie I have to let go. I think a big part of continuing on throughout life is forgiveness and letting go. And I think that's a big theme in the movie. But the queerness was also like not in just a literal sense, but also the rebellion that is like being a queer person and navigating like a queer life. She is constantly like faced with walls that she pushes her way through and is trying to tear down, which was really exciting. She's like an exciting, fun person and a cool person while dealing with all this like, grief.
I love that the line of she got expelled because she was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty true. She was just, I
Yeah.
like cool people.
And I think for so many young adults, they can relate to her in a sense.
Yeah, I found her really relatable. I've never, I hadn't really had a chance to play in Fear Street. I get to play a character who's kind of like crazy and cool, but she's kind of extreme. This felt like a really rounded, familiar person that I saw a lot of myself in, which is part of why I was so dedicated to making sure that I got to be in the movie.
Well, we're glad that you did because, frankly, I think you did a terrific job, and I can't wait for people to see the films.